certainly welcome you this evening to this meeting that is designed for people who are on the boards of directors of Homeowners Association or people who are just interested in their Homeowners Association. And we're very pleased to see the number of people we have with us tonight. My name is Jim Holland. I'm the mayor of the village of Frankfort. And we have quite a crew here with us tonight from the village staff and elected officials. I see Trustee Margaret Farina is over there waving. And let's see, other trustees who are here. Well, we have Brian Feary is here. He's our new clerk. A clerk for, 2 weeks or 3 weeks now? So he's on the move. And then Jean Severia, a trustee who has been recently appointed to that position, and Jessica Petro, who is a trustee. So I think those were the elected officials here. We have our police chief and our village administrator, Rob Pisha and John Burica over here. And we have all of our department heads are here. We have some more police officers. And one person who needs introduction is Sue Lynchy. Sue, many of you get emails from Sue. Sue, you have to wait. Sue handles communications and special events for the village. Frankly, a very important part of what we do. So tonight I mentioned the trustees who are here and the elected officials. This is a village administrator form of government. There are 6 trustees, an elected mayor, and an elected clerk. And any 4 of the trustees and the mayor make the decisions. And what do we do in the village? We have planning services. One of the main things we do is we set zoning standards. We decide what kind of uses are appropriate in different pieces of land. We maintain roads. We plow the roads. We rebuild the roads. We keep them hopefully in excellent shape. And we know we have a lot of work to do there, and we can talk about that a little bit. Terry wants to, I know he does. But we have police protection is a major part of what we do. And we'll talk about that a little bit more as we go on. And then we handle the water and sewer in Frankfort, and for almost as many customers outside the village of Frankfort as inside. Some demographics information. What does that have to do with the homeowners? I don't know, but there's a nice slide about it. Comprehensive plan. There's an important part of what we do in the planning process is periodically we create a new plan. Over the last 2 years, we had quite a bit of public input and a lot of discussion among plan commissioner, staff, elected officials. We hired a consultant to help us with the project, and we came up with basically what amounts to a land use plan for the village of Frankfort. It has interesting aspects to it. This is the property, let's see, over in this area would be Mariano's, and this would be 30 and 45, the intersection. And all of this property in here is owned by Silver Cross Hospital, and it's all a big, I think it's a cornfield now, sometimes it's a soybean field. You'll see that Pfeiffer Road in this example goes through. There's open space around the river over here. There's some fairly dense housing. There are connections to some of the townhome streets in this area. That's the sort of thing you do with a comprehensive plan. It gives an idea what might be done on this property. It's not necessarily what's going to happen. That requires the free enterprise system. That requires somebody with a few $100 million to come in and buy the property and come to us with their plan as to what would happen. But this gives an indication to somebody who wants to buy it what the village would likely approve. Speaking of that connection for Pfeiffer Road, going from Lighthouse Point to down by the library, we're working on that. We're working with Silver Cross Hospital to obtain that property, and if we can come to an agreement with them, then the board has indicated a willingness to spend the money to connect that road, and it would include a bicycle trail. And once the road is done and the bicycle trail is done on St. Francis Road, that would connect the bike trails in Frankfort all through Frankfort Square. Pretty neat idea. And we'll see how that goes in the future. In our development services operation, we have some new businesses that are being worked on. In fact, over the weekend, I was at the Wine Thief at a wine tasting. It's not open yet, and it's not ready to be open, and they weren't charging, so that's legal for them to serve the alcohol. It's considered a private party. But they are moving ahead, and they're doing extensive remodeling in that place that we used to call Always Open. Some of you who have been around a long time, you'll know in our downtown, at the end of the granary building, was a convenience store that used to be there. Another new project, this has not been built and is in the planning stage and is scheduled to go to our plan commission, I think, at the next meeting at the end of March for a public hearing. Substantive issue to some of the neighbors, but this is at Laraway and Wolf on the south and west corner, a proposed building. The interesting issues with it are a drive-through. So that goes around the building. Now you have headlight issues, you have noise issues and that sort of thing. But it's also quite a ways away from the residential properties, and there's already a sizable berm there, and they're willing to put up a fence. Very interesting process of how these developments go. With our building department, not all of the statistics are great this year. You'll see 83 new single-family homes were built in 2019 or permits issued versus 97 the year before. So it's similar, but not as much. Same with the new business licenses. It's a sign of the slowing economy. I hope this isn't what made the stock market go down today. That's pretty scary. This had quite a bit of interest from residents of our community. State law is providing for a South Suburban casino. There are 4 applications in to build a casino. Our neighboring town of Madison put in an application to build a casino at Harlem and Route 30. So that raised a few eyebrows in our community, and basically we were concerned about it. We had a lot of discussion with Madison. We had discussion with, frankly, Senator Mike Hastings, who represents the northern part of Frankfort. And Mike was very instrumental in getting Madison to move their casino over to the old Lincoln Mall site. We think that would be better. You can still get to the casino. If you're a gambler, it's not going to be hard to get to it, but it's not right across the street from our community. So I've had a number of conversations with their mayor, and they've really been very good about the situation. And that move was approved by the Illinois Gaming Board, so we fully expect that to be the case, unless somebody takes it to court and something changes. So we're monitoring that situation, probably a good way to put it. But Madison has agreed, the state of Illinois has agreed to move that casino location over to the Lincoln Mall site. A little bit about financials in Frankfort. This is kind of interesting right now. You'll see our sales tax revenue is about $6 million a year. Well, that's changing because many of you in this room, and some of you didn't, but many of you voted for a sales tax increase in the community. And so that number will be going up to more like $8.5 million is what I would expect this next year. And that brings up the question, well, what are we going to do with that money? And one of the things that we stated before this vote, which was not last November, but the November before, but we didn't start getting the money until either June or July 1st, I think. Anyway, doesn't matter. We didn't get it till last summer. We stated that we would use it to increase the police department by about 15%. We're going to add 5 new police officers, and we're well underway on that process. It's a complex process to hire police, and but we already have a few of them on the street, and we're going to have more of them. So that's part of what's happening. The other thing you'll see down at the bottom line, that we increased the resurfacing funding from $500,000 to $2.2 million a year, and we're just finishing up our budget process. Tomorrow night we have a committee meeting about our budget, and in that budget it's over $3 million for next year for street resurfacing. So our plan is to get caught up on our street resurfacing, and that's part of where that increased sales tax money is going. That's where the bulk of it is going. Public Works, St. Francis Road, never-ending project. Anybody who's here from Walnut Creek certainly knows that, and it's been, frankly, an unpleasant experience for all of us. There were major conflicts that were not supposed to be there, ComEd, NICOR, and I think AT&T. I think there were at least 3 companies said, our wires are out of the way, or our pipes are out of the way, or don't worry about it because they aren't there. And then the guy goes out there and starts digging, and there they are. And it all has to stop, be redesigned, have the stuff moved, and we apologize for that project taking so long, and for those residents and people who use St. Francis. It's not a good deal at all. But the work should start, I don't know, pretty soon. By April, I think, we should get started again. Where's Terry? Think that's right? Soon. We'll just leave it at soon. That's the way governments do. But a lot of that has to do with weather and has to do with moving equipment around and such. And this time we do believe that everything's in the right place. All the stuff under the ground is really taken care of. It's moving the dirt on top of the ground and putting everything back together, and I think it should come out great. A lot of people wonder about things that cost governments a lot of money. That emerald ash tree, that little bug that came in and killed the ash trees around town, 4,000 ash trees were removed and replaced, $1.9 million of tax money. And that was only for the ash trees on government property. That's only the ones in the parkway. There are lots and lots of ash trees in people's yards that die. A big issue, the biggest public works program that we've ever had is an improvement to our sewer system. And it was required because we had 2 antiquated plants that were not keeping up with EPA standards, with modern filtration and cleanup of wastewater. And we had one fairly modern plant that was designed to be expanded. So we did expand it, and we connected the other pipes to that main plant. So 2 plants are being decommissioned, turned off, and 1 plant was expanded, and we had to make the connections between them. So that's what happened, and it was budgeted for about $60 million. It looks like it'll come in around $55 million when it's all said and done. Very expensive, and it's what's raised your water rates over the last about 4 or 5 years. We had a whole plan for a series of loans. All of our loans are at less than, I think, 1.8% interest, so that's pretty good. They're from the federal government, essentially. They're run by the state, but they're subsidized by the federal government to fix these old sewer plants that are all over the United States. And we got in on that. They're 20-year loans, so those rates stay up for 20 years, and then they should come right back down again. I'll be long gone. I know how that works, too. Branch pickup coming up, hydrant flushing. You can see these on our website if you're residents, but we usually put signs out. You can see what's going on there. The census is very important to the community. We get about $161 for each person that's counted in the census. Doesn't matter how many people really live here, it only matters how many are in the census or counted in the census. Probably in the next week, you're going to receive the first notice from the Census Bureau. I think it goes out sometime between March 14th and 20th. The first notice goes out, another one goes out the end of March, and then I think a postcard in April, and then you're going to get somebody knocking on your door if you don't comply. Most of the census this year will be done online, so that's a little different. That's kind of interesting. If you're not computer savvy, that's they still have a paper form. You can get that, but we want you to fill out the census and fill it out properly and accurately. It's very important to the village. It's also kind of interesting in our country, the census is right at the beginning of the United States Constitution. It's in Article 1, Section 2. It spells out that there has to be the census every 10 years. And it's the first document that people put in writing that the census is designed to protect the people from the government. That it says that the government will be chosen, or how many representatives there are will be chosen by the number of people who live in this area. And that holds true of all different kinds of governments in our country. And in the past, you know, they were doing census clear back in biblical times, and it was all done to figure out how to collect more taxes. With the United States, it was done to put a control on the government. So that's another reason it's important to fill out the census. Beautification awards, some of your neighborhoods have received beautification awards. Those come up in the summer and in the winter. If you're having a block party, Sue handles those. There is an application. We do want to know something about it, but mostly we want to help. If you want the police department to come out, they usually can, unless they're out busting everybody. They got some action going. And the fire district will usually, they can always come. But anyway, it's a nice thing. Block parties are a good idea in our community. They help us as a community get to know our neighbors and work with our neighbors. Calendar of events is available. You can find that on the website. The TV is online. What else is in here? Police. We are going to have a presentation from our police chief, some items of interest to hopefully Homeowners Association, and from Jamie Viebach. She's going to talk about a little bit about pond maintenance. And I already went over my time, so I'll give this to the police chief. I'll stop.
It's my job to make up that time, so I'll take care of it. I'm John Burica, police chief here, and just going to go a little bit about the police protection programs. We'll have a question and answer at the end, so we'll be here for any other questions you guys might have. But start out with crime statistics, 2018 versus 2019. And just comparing them, and obviously there's not a huge difference in those. The one crime that we still have to deal with most is burglary of motor vehicles and car thefts. So we keep talking to people about that. We'll talk about it on the slide, but the other thing you might notice on there that would probably stand out to you is residential burglaries, and that they've doubled. One thing we tell people about that is that number is set up because by law, if somebody enters a garage that's attached to a house, that's a residential burglary. Not all police departments report it the same way, but we report them the way they're supposed to be reported, so that's really where that number came in. But you see, overall, we are a very safe community. We have had some bigger incidents that you've probably seen and heard about. Luckily, you have a great police department. We have some of our detectives back there, Sergeant Bender, who is in charge of detectives, and you have Joe Soroka and Jay Sanders. They follow up on a lot of these cases that come through, and they've done a great job. As we know, the issue we had up at the bank, they were able to make arrests on that. We had an issue at T-Mobile, they were able to make arrests on that. So they do a great job with that. Our deputy chiefs, Will Dowding and Kevin Keegan, are also involved. We're expanding as a police department, but we're still a smaller police department that, from me on down, everybody gets involved in these things. But those guys do the load of the work, and so do the officers on the street. You have really good guys that are out there every night, putting garage doors down. You may or may not know if you didn't come to the other meeting, we put over 600 garage doors down, call people at night with those. One of the things you can always do, make sure your garage doors are down at night. Sometimes we forget, but That's why we came with the 9 p.m. routine. And if any of you are on Facebook or any of our social media, you probably saw the 9 p.m. routine. We did it for the month of February. And we're hoping you guys pick it up from there. It becomes your own routine. The one thing we've found with the amount of car thefts we've had and car burglaries, almost all of them have been unlocked. And when I say almost all of them, probably 99%. We're not talking about any big amount that they're breaking into or doing anything else. People have concerns they're going to break windows or do something else like that. We have not seen that. This trend that's going on is not just a Frankfort issue. It's an issue that's Will County, statewide, and actually if you look it up, you'll find it countrywide. Throughout the United States, these are going on. And a lot of them, I think, have to do with the new cars and just the fact that you can get in and hit a button and see if it goes. So never leave your key fobs in your car. Always take your keys in, lock your doors. Again, 9 o'clock routine, when you see that clock at 9, check your garage door, check your cars. As I say, my neighbors hate me because all my cars beep. I have 2 or 3 cars outside, and I beep once, and I beep them again. Make sure lock, go down doing that. But if you get into that, it's just a great way to keep yourself safe. You can turn exterior lights on. Obviously, lights don't stop them, but sometimes when there's a lot of light over there, they tend to stay away from there. Census. Oh, with the Census Bureau, that's the one that Sue added on me. We're putting out some information on census takers. If they do start coming to your house, obviously, if you fill it out, you can do it online also once you get your census information. Easiest way of doing it. But when they do come out, they will have ID badges. They should have official equipment, laptops. They should not ask for anything like social security numbers. They're not going to ask you for donations, money, credit card numbers, anything else like that. If you don't feel right about something, call us. We're available. That's what we're here for. All right? We're a tool for you guys. Just like we rely on you guys to call us when something's suspicious, something's not right, we also want to be here for you. If you guys think something's not right, call us. Let's check the person out. We'll know who it is. We're going to try to find out their neighborhood so we may know right away where they're at. But just making sure that if you have any issues, it'd be between 9 a.m. and 9 p.m. But they should have something on it, and it should be readily identifiable. They shouldn't be trying to hide it. You shouldn't have to ask for it. Frankfort Police Department, HOAs. Anybody know we come to HOAs? We try every year to come out. It's one of our goals every year to come out to all the HOAs. Some people don't like the police being at their HOAs for some reason. I don't know what they're doing, but they get very nervous sometimes. But feel free to call us. We will come for the first 10 minutes of your HOA. We'll leave. I know sometimes people have them at restaurants, and then maybe they have some libations afterwards, something else. We will leave. We don't need to be there the whole time. But we're happy to come there, and we'd love if you give us a topic. If you have something you want to talk about, you want to know about your neighborhood, you want to know what's going on, give us a call. One of us will come out. You can get, it could be from myself to Deputy Chief, one sergeant. Somebody will come out and then talk with you guys. Or if you have questions and answers, you want somebody to come in, say hello, meet some of the officers. It's a great way to meet the officers that are out there. If any of you come out to our coffee with the cops or anything else like that, or calling with the cops, we have those 4 times a year also. So another great way. We do those so you guys can come out and meet us, because people don't always want to meet the police for some reason. But just call in and get that. Vacation watches. Not sure if you knew that or not, but we do vacation watches. If you guys are leaving town for a while, we'll do a vacation watch. Please spread it on the rest of your associations. We will come out and we will check your house once or twice a day. Make sure nothing's wrong. We can't guarantee that nothing will happen, but the obvious idea is that if something does happen, we'll find it sooner. That way there's not much damage or not many problems when you come back to it. And that way we get some information from you if lights are on, where cars are at and things like that. It's a great tool for you guys that we have out there, so feel free to do it. You can get those online, or you can call the police department. They'd be happy to fill it out, or if you'd like to meet a police officer, they'll come out to your house with you and take care of it. Staying informed, one of the big things we try to do, does everybody know about Nixle? If you're not part of Nixle, a great way of doing it. You can, if you just dial 888-777, put in Frankfort, it'll automatically sign you up on your phone. We have Twitter, we have Facebook. You can call us online or in the following places, but we try to get information out there. The one nice thing is our elected officials, mayor and all of our trustees, they don't care what we put out there. We're trying to put out information to you guys, let you know what's going on. The idea is not to scare you or worry you. Crimes are going on in different places all the time, but we want you guys out there to help us. That's why we want to get the information out there. You guys know your neighborhoods better than anybody. You should probably know what cars are there, what don't belong there, when people come and go. If something seems out of the ordinary, we want you to notify us and let us know. In the same way we try to let you know. Now, we try not to kill it with putting them out all the time, but we try to give as much information as we can on things that we think will pertain to you, that are safety, and every once in a while events and things like that are coming up. But if you don't have any of those, we can give them to you, but great way to stay connected with us, and hopefully I think we're getting ready to get a new webpage, which will even have more connectivity to you. And that's not the question and answer yet. Is it Gina Hassett?
Yeah, Gina.
Yes. Thank
Gina,
you.
you're up.
Gina
Gina
Hassett.
Hassett is with
Thank
us
you.
this evening also. She's with the Frankfort Park District.
Thank you, Mayor Holland. Thank you to the village staff for allowing me to be here. I just want to take about 5 minutes. I'm the executive director for the Frankfort Park District. We offer a number of different opportunities for HOAs. If you don't have your meeting there, we do allow HOAs to meet at the Founders Center when we have space. We are pretty busy, but we do have space available for HOA meetings. We have pavilion rentals. Many of your subdivisions have parks within your subdivision. If you're interested in maybe even having your block party at the park, that's something that we're open to. This year we have rolled out if you want to adopt a planter, if you want to maybe take care of the planter at your park. We do have limited staff, so we always welcome the opportunity to partner with our HOAs and our residents. So if you have an organization or your HOA want to adopt that planter. And in your folder, the village was kind enough to share, we are going through our master planning process. So this Wednesday at 6 p.m. at the Founders Center, we welcome you to come by and provide public input related to our update of our master plan. There will be an online survey. Some of you may have received either electronic or mail. That was our random sampling. But I'm also always available if you have feedback. We certainly have a number of parks within the community that include ponds that Jamie will be talking about. So if you have feedback, good or bad, please don't hesitate to reach out. We do have a small staff, so we're always happy to hear from our residents who are good stewards of our park. So we appreciate that. And if I can be of any service or you have any questions, I'll stick around till the end as well. So thank you.
Thank you, Gina. And then one last presentation from Jamie Viebach from the Conservation Foundation.
Thank you, Mayor. All right, I'm going to do my best to keep this short. I have adapted a presentation that I gave last week with the Manhattan Park District. It was about 45 minutes long, so I promise I won't keep you here that long. My name is Jamie Viebach, and I'm with the Conservation Foundation. We are unfortunately one of the area's best kept secrets. We are a 47-year-old nonprofit land and watershed protection organization. As I said, nonprofit 501c3. And our goal is to protect the health of the community by protecting our land and protecting our water. Clean soil, clean water, healthy people. And we're also recently accredited. Trust me, that's a really big deal. I know it doesn't mean anything to you, but trust me, it is a really big deal. So what are some of the issues? Some of the issues that you're having with your ponds. I guarantee if your homeowners association manages a pond, you've got at least one of these issues. Raise your hand if you're a homeowners association with a pond that has at least one of these issues. Yeah, probably 100%, I'm gonna guess. So everybody's got issues with drainage, geese, right? Awful. Erosion on the shoreline, some of the examples. Every pond put in has these problems. Many of them were not put in right in the first place. Many of them are too shallow. The more shallow a pond is, the more difficult it is to maintain properly. All right? So why do we put ponds in the first place? They help to keep our streams and our rivers clean. So they function as a sort of holding tank. So when we have a rain event, when it rains, these ponds collect that water and then slowly push it out into our local rivers and streams. And while they're holding it, some of that sediment can fall out and sort of sink to the bottom. Some of the nutrients and things that have washed out of our lawns can sink to the bottom of the pond. And overall, the overall effect is to help keep our rivers clean. There we go. A pond is not a swimming pool. You would not believe how many people think their pond should be crystal clear and look like this. If you want your pond to look like this, be prepared to spend millions of dollars and have it be completely non-functional. It is also not a lake, right? Lakes are 25 feet deep. Your neighborhood pond is maybe 10 feet. Much more difficult to maintain. We can't do the same kind of water quality testing that we would do on a lake. It is also not a golf course pond. They cannot be maintained as such without, again, spending massive amounts of money and keeping them from doing the functions that they're supposed to do. So what does a healthy pond look like? Does it look like this? Riprap, that rock around the edge, big fountain in the middle. And what about that? All right, if we look at them side by side there, which one looks like it's gonna be a more functional part of the environment, a better habitat for those pollinators, those butterflies and birds and things that we're all say we're trying to protect. All right? We can have these beautiful buffers around our ponds, and they're actually really functional as well, because they help to slow down the water, which prevents erosion. The long roots on the native plants also help to prevent erosion. And by the way, when you have plants, even plants that are just this tall around the edge, geese hate it. They hate it. And so having that native plant buffer around the edge looks nice, but is also really functional and helps to solve some of those issues that we're having with our ponds. So you're gonna hear me harp on a little bit about native plants. Why do I talk so much about native plants? Well, first of all, they're 50 to 60% less costly to maintain than some of our ornamental plants. Now, I didn't say maintenance free, there's no such thing, but they are less costly to maintain, and I'll show you why in just a little bit. But they also attract and feed those birds and the butterflies, again, bringing lots of colorful interest to the area. Clay soil, man, our soil here is terrible, right? Anybody who's tried to dig a hole and plant a tree, you know how awful that soil is. Guess what? Native plants are used to that. They like it. They don't care. They have super long roots that punch right through that heavy clay soil and actually improve the quality of the soil. They're sustainable and long-lived, right? Cut them off at the top. They've got so much root mass underground, they just come right back up. And they also help to filter and absorb water. Get water instead of shunting it off to the rivers and creeks causing flooding. They help that water to go down and recharge that water table. So this is what I mean by long roots on native plants. On the left, you see some of the non-native species we like to put in our landscaping. Hydrangeas, daylilies, fountain grass, right up in here. Kentucky bluegrass, you know how long the roots are in your grass? 2 to 3 inches. That's why we have to spend all summer watering our grass, is because those top 2 to 3 inches dry out really fast. If we were to use instead buffalo grass, which is this guy right here, I challenge any of you to tell the difference. Seeing it in a planting, you can't. You cannot tell the difference between the two, except buffalo grass doesn't grow very tall and you can get away with mowing it twice a year. How'd you like that? See, I said less costly to maintain. But look how deep the roots go, right? 2.5 meters deep. That's a super deep root. That means come July, when it's all drought, everything's dry, they don't care. They're still getting water from deep down in the soil. You don't have to worry about watering it. So native plants are awesome, and they're beautiful. They're not weeds. So many people, I say native plants, and they go, oh, you mean weeds? No, I really don't. I mean really beautiful plants that have gorgeous flowers on them that challenge any of the stuff that we use in traditional landscaping. Like I said, geese love mowed grass. Geese want to be able to see in all directions, and they want to be able to walk straight in and straight out of a pond. So when you have that nicely manicured golf course looking pond, they love it. That's exactly what they're looking for. And as we all know, what happens when you have lots of geese? A friend of mine in undergrad did a study, and they were looking at goose poop. And they found 100% of the samples they tested had antibiotic-resistant bacteria in them. Okay? That is a health problem. That is a public health issue, not just a gross one. So we want to encourage the geese to go somewhere else. We helped a neighborhood that had a big pond put a big swath of plants around their pond. One lady decided she didn't like the way it looked and mowed it. Not only was she complaining that all her neighbors had birds and butterflies and she didn't, she's also the one who got all the geese. So having a little bit of pretty plants along the edge helps to prevent that problem. Right? Like I said, does that look like a weedy mess? No, those are pretty flowers. Those are the kinds of flowers we want and plants we want to encourage along the edges of our ponds. So how can you help your neighborhood pond? HOA or not, you can help your neighborhood pond. Well, first of all, if you are part of your homeowners association, make sure you are setting money aside for pond maintenance. No matter what you do to your pond, it will require maintenance. If you have a fountain in the middle, that's gonna break down. If you have any kind of landscaping around the edge, you're gonna need maintenance on that, right? Whether it's mowing or weeding or whatever it is, you're gonna have some maintenance costs on that. Make sure you're setting money aside so you don't get hit with that nasty bill. All of those ponds eventually will need dredging. That means they take a big scoop and they make the pond a little bit deeper because over time, they start to fill in. Dredging, super expensive. Really, really expensive. Make sure you're setting money aside now. Take care of your own lawn. So collect your lawn clippings and your leaves. This is all to keep phosphorus and things out of the water that feed those algae and the plants and things that are there. Collect your leaves, collect your lawn clippings. That will help prevent those big algae blooms. And don't treat your lawn, whether you do it yourself or have a lawn service, don't treat it when there's rain in the forecast. Because if you put those treatments down and it rains, the rain is gonna wash all of that treatment into the pond. And now instead of feeding your grass, it's gonna feed the algae. Okay, so make sure you got a couple of clear days before you treat your lawn. And make sure, again, anything you put on your lawn or anything your lawn company, your lawn service is gonna use is non-phosphorus based fertilizers. Most of them aren't anymore because we've realized how bad that is to get in the water. But make sure it's not. And then don't oversalt your driveways and your sidewalks. Most people use about 10 times the amount of salt you need to. You see I've got a cup here, it's about the size of just a regular standard coffee cup. If you filled this with driveway salt, sidewalk salt, this should cover 10 sidewalk squares or a 20-foot driveway. That's all you need. If you're using more than that, you're using too much. Then it gets into our water, it gets into our soil. It's really bad for our plants, really bad for our waterways. And using too much salt can actually have the opposite effect that you're intending. It can actually make your ice worse. So you want to shovel, get all this snow and stuff off your driveway and off your sidewalks, and then sprinkle. If you want cups like this, we can get them. There's a scatter pattern. It shows you what it should look like. So you shouldn't have these large swaths of salt covering your driveway. I know we don't want to talk about ice anymore. I'm ready for it to be spring. And make sure the inflow and outflows of your ponds are clear, right? You can see in the picture here, there's all this debris in front of those pipes. You want to make sure those are clear so that water can easily flow in and out of your pond. That helps to prevent stagnation and prevents that algae and the duckweed growth that's in there. And you can manage your own stormwater, either using a rain barrel, like we have on the left there, or having a rain garden, like the one on the right. We at the Conservation Foundation have a program called Conservation at Home. Through this program, you give me a call and I can come out and walk around your yard with you. I can walk around your neighborhood pond with you, as I have with several people here in this room. And there's no charge for that. So our Conservation at Home program is free for homeowners. We can consult with you on landscaping choices, how to use native plants in your yard, what native plants you could put where. I can make recommendations on services, companies that can do the work for you. I don't actually do the work, but I can recommend people who do. And again, there's no charge for that. Once you do have your yard full of native plants and all your birds and butterflies and you have a rain garden and things like that going on, it's a certification program, so you can actually get your yard certified. And that's it. That's what I got. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jamie. Jamie's very enthusiastic, very interesting program that she brings, yes.
I have a question. In some cases of times, maybe not necessarily owned or managed by simply one homeowners association. So my thought is, whenever you mention a homeowner that just tore everything down with grass, is there any kind of ordinance or regulations that are enforceable to keep people from doing that? I mean, we certainly can control our own homeowners, I guess, but if we're talking about somebody else's homeowners, is there any way that we can try and help manage that?
Good question.
That is
I
a
don't think
group.
so.
That, yeah.
I don't think we have any.
I was going to say, In my experience, it depends on who owns the property.
It all depends.
So if the pond itself is owned by the homeowners association and the homeowners association is the one that put that landscaping up and someone comes in and destroys it, it's destruction of property. So there can be issues there. If it's something that it's on your own property, if it's the homeowner's property and they do something, there's really not much you can do about it except, shame them at the next meeting.
The village government's role in ponds is essentially to make sure the water movement is functioning the way it's supposed to. That it holds the amount of water that it was originally designed to hold, so that water doesn't end up in somebody's basement, and then it releases the water in the manner it was supposed to. So you will see Terry's crew out now and then at the entrance or exit to a pond doing some work to straighten that out. But basically, it's a private property issue.
Okay, so our only cancellation is that down or then we're just gonna dump the whole piece.
Yep.
So we are ready for questions, please.
Yeah, you mentioned dredging of
Yes.
ponds early, and our pond is fairly shallow. We know we have a lot of sediment, a lot of food for algae down at the bottom. We fight it every year. How many years, after how many years should a pond be dredged? Or is there kind of a rule of thumb?
I don't know that there's really a rule of thumb so much as it has to do with the depth and the management. If you started out with a really shallow pond in the first place, it might need to be dredged after just a couple of years. If you have tons of erosion, that's also going to play into it too. So I think it's really more of a depth issue that once it starts to become really, really shallow, that's when it needs to be dredged again.
We recently had a property owner's pond, or 5 or 6 homes around the pond that owned it to the center of the pond, and they had it dredged in a very interesting way. They had divers who had big vacuum machines, and they put what looked like an enormous nylon stocking on the land next to the pond, and it was maybe 100 feet long and 20 feet wide, kind of a big person. But they pumped all this muck into the big stocking, and then the moisture would come out of it gradually. It was there for months, I think. It was a couple-month process. And these guys, 2 guys were down there diving around, sucking up the bottom of the pond. We can put you in touch with that group if you like.
Sounds less expensive than the alternative.
Yes.
Representative, Democratic debate, call me. While you're talking, this one.
I'm just glad it's not.
No, did you say that you guys did catch the robbers from the Savings Bank of Hedwich?
Not Hegwish one, over in Chase.
What about the one?
Hegwish, the interesting part is when it comes to bank robberies, if it's not initially caught, it turns into an FBI issue. So we have no jurisdiction.
Okay, so you don't know if they were caught or not?
We have not heard that they were caught yet. Usually we'll get some information from them going that way, but the FBI is still investigating.
Okay. The other question is for all the homeowners. I have a board member, I'm the treasurer of ours, and for our snow removal, I set up a budget, and it's so much per month for the 4 months. We have a board member that says, we'd be wasting a lot of money, why don't we just do it per plowing? Is there anybody here who's on an association where you pay it per plowing?
We don't do it. That was an option that we had going back about 5. Whenever the big snowstorms came in, that's the year we chose to do it, and that's the last time we chose.
I tried to explain to them, number one, how we need budget for it. Like this winter, February was pretty bad, but January, whatever it is, I said it's, you're taking off a big risk, and what you said at one time, you didn't do it. And I told them, I said, I don't know of any homeowners, associations that do that.
Yeah, how many pay per plowing? So some, and back behind you too. And the rest of you pay per month? Would that be right? So,
But there's always that.
there are some.
We pay a flat rate, but then if it's more than X amount of
More than
snow.
6 inches,
they
it's a
want-
blizzard.
Yeah, they want their money for that.
Oh.
Yeah, because.
Oh, it sounds like you're taking all the risks then.
Yeah.
What else? Questions on anything, please?
So I asked a guess this is for Jamie, but maybe not. Who stocks these ponds with fish?
Again, that's gonna depend on who owns them.
The park district does not stock our ponds.
So if they are a park district owned pond, they are not stocked, other than by perhaps the odd eggs that come in on the feet of ducks or something along those lines. If your association owns the pond, they may or may not. I know some private pond owners who stock their own private ponds, so, yeah,
Well, I think we used to have a real enthusiast, right? One of our employees used to love it and go out and work with, I think, the Department of Natural Resources to stock ponds. But Terry, what do we do? We have one downtown.
We stock ours, the same thing. I use Department of Agriculture. We can get, they have, fish orders every spring. And then you just, we stocked our own, but I know with the original developers, a lot of them, they stocked the ponds when they were building them. So, some of the ponds may already have been stocked.
So you do it every year to,
Once you start, you just do that initial time, and if you get the right ratio of fish in there, it should just be able to keep it.
get bigger ones next time. What else? Questions for the police?
Well, I was gonna say, in regards to ponds, we have two over in Timber's Edge, and we probably spend about $8,000 a year on the maintenance for two. And the gentleman over there asked about how long, how many years go by before we have to dredge, because we're gonna look at the pond this year. I think I had Terry on a couple of years ago and looked around the pond, and we do have some areas in one of the ponds where we have some erosion. In the back, in one of our ponds, we do have the wildflowers. That's always been an attention because, to be honest, most people do see those as weeds, but the upside is that we don't have the erosion in the back like we do in the front, and we don't have a problem with the geese, back there. But one of the things that we did have up in the front, actually we had it in the back, was with like the muskrats.
oh, yeah.
And so what we have to do, we have fountains in both ponds, and after spending thousands of dollars for a couple of years straight, where it came through and ate the wiring, we put the wiring in the like the braided steel cable. Cost us a little more money.
Sure, but it protects it better.
Yes.
Yeah.
But in terms of, I think you said that you could recommend some companies that could come out and
Absolutely.
take it, okay.
Yeah, my card is on the back there, or that's my information up there too. Feel free to give me a call. I'd be happy to come out and walk around and just kind of see what's going on, make some recommendations. I've got lists of companies I can send you that we work with, that we trust to do this work right. And I'd be happy to provide any of that.
Please.
Yeah, we're in Shenandoah, and we're right next to the water tower. There's some trees that are look really bad. Wondering if you could help us determine what the lot line is so we could decide who owns what trees?
Sure. I think that Terry's probably the right person. We have access to GIS data, which is kind of shows where things are. It moves a little bit.
But
If we need a surveyor out there, I suppose we could look into that. But let's work with Terry Kestel about problem trees and whose property they're on, and we'll see what we can do to help.
But there should be some lot, those post-it things that were put in once upon a time, but I don't know where they are.
Well, we have maps that will help show where they are. Maybe we can help find them. Terry Kestel in the back of the room.
Okay.
Is the right guy. Please.
With all the break-ins that have been happening, some of the homeowners have been interested in putting up surveillance cameras at each of the entrances. One, is that legal? And two, have you heard of anybody else doing something similar?
Yeah, my reaction to that, it's a good idea. Our police department welcomes help. I've generally been an opponent of the government putting out a lot of cameras and trying to monitor our people, because after all, this is Illinois and something improper is going to be done with that information at some point. Whereas if it's you doing it, I'm sure it'll be fine. But the police chief will help.
Yeah, no, if you want to put them up there, we can come help you. Put them on, obviously, put them on your property, not on public property. And obviously, we're not going into some of these private residents we're reviewing on it. We have one subdivision that has them now. And with them, obviously, you've got to look at the capabilities. We can help you out with that a little bit too, because what looks good when you're looking at the camera may not look good once it's been recorded.
Yep.
But yes, we definitely have some companies out there that will do it for you. So we keep talking about it.
Great idea. Cameras, I think the police department's very much for them. They can help. So what else? What else is on your mind? Please.
Recently, we still have the residents mail their checks to our little mailbox. And I'm the treasurer of our Homeowners Association, and recently we've had a problem with checks that were stolen from the Frankfort post office. So my question is to all the other associations here, is there any way to set up something where the checks would automatically go from bank to bank, not a check, a payment, from bank to bank, and I would still know who paid what when?
There must be. You need to speak to your banker. Rod?
Or even Venmo. Venmo's another way of doing it.
Venmo, V-E-N-M-O is the way of doing money transfer money, so you can set it up.
And I can do it through QuickBooks too?
Well, either one.
Venmo's it's just an app that people can do where you can, another one is called Zelle, and where you can do bank-to-bank transfers and there's no cost.
Yeah, I use Zelle. And the two parties sign up on it, and then you can just transfer money on your phone.
And there's no charge to the person sending it? Like
No
some
charge.
of the apps that I looked at, they
Zelle is run by the major banks in the country. They run it. They're trying to get people to stop writing checks and do it electronically. Oh, there definitely has to be a better way. Yeah. There has to be a better way.
And the bank was less than helpful. Very much.
That's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. The post office has not been helpful either, but it's not their fault that they got thrown into. But the banks are,
Don't feel bad, we run on that problem too.
I think this Zelle program, I didn't know anything about it. My kids told me about it. They want money. So. What the heck? Nothing's changed. And this goes instantly. And they can't take money out of my account. I can only send it to them. What a deal. Well, we thank you for being here. We do have a lot of our staff here. If you have specific questions about issues in the village, we'd be happy to answer. And Jamie is a real resource for not only people with ponds, but also if you're interested in native plantings and such.
I'm happy to speak at any homeowners association meetings. Again, there's no charge for that. Just give me a call. I'm happy to come out anytime. I'll talk to anybody who will listen to me.
And there are cookies. What a deal.